Hello and welcome to Midweek Meditations, where we have an opportunity to briefly share with you what God has shared with us. I am so excited about this particular series that we're into called Addicted. We've been looking at the power of addictions. We've been looking also at the power of God to loose us from addictions. And we're in the fourth part of that series, and we talked about the dark side of addictions. There's a dark side of addictions. And we began looking at the demonic that found himself at church, coming to church, doing the things of church people, but standing in need of something deep. And I'm so glad to report to you today that the God that I serve and the God that you serve is able to set us free. That addicted brother taught us a couple of things. First thing he taught us that coming to church is crucial, but merely coming to church is dangerous. What are you trying to say? What I'm trying to tell you is that there ought to be a purpose. There ought to be a rhyme. There ought to be a reason behind you coming to church. You ought to know that God shows up at church. You ought to know that God can change lives in the atmosphere of the church experience. You ought to come to church with a desire to be changed. There ought to be an attitude of expectancy when you arrive at church. And we found out that there's a dangerous component to just merely coming to church with no expectation of God bringing change to your life. The demonic taught us also that association brings about assimilation. I want you to hear what the demonic said. The demonic told Jesus, leave us alone. Let us hang out together. I got this. This is in my hands. And so what he was saying to Jesus is, just let this gentleman stay with me. That's what demons want. They want to hold on to you and keep you away from those things that will bring positive change to your life. They want to keep you within their clutches. They understand that association brings about assimilation. And then the last thing this demonic taught us is that you and I must be clear about the power and the authority of God. That's what we learned from this experience, that Jesus didn't take time to argue with the demonic, didn't take time to have a whole lot of conversation back and forth with the demonic. Jesus said two things. He told him to shut up, and then he told him to get out. He said, shut up and get out. And the demon had to flee. The demon understood something that so many times when you are just merely coming to church that you and I are not even clear on, and that's the power and authority of God. Oh, I want to pause and tell you that you and I have at our disposal the power and authority of God. You and I have that power. We have that authority. God says, I give it unto you. And I want to challenge you as you're going through things, as you're in the clutches of some addiction. I want to pause and tell you that you and I serve a God who has the power and authority to change us. Oh, it's just like the story as I close about the little lady that stayed in this far off home that didn't have running water nor electricity, and she had been going through that for so long that she just became used to it, until finally a rich individual said, I'm going to ensure that she has power running to her house. I'm going to ensure that she has electricity running to her house. And so all the wires were run. They ran the electricity, and the woman was excited. She was thankful for the electricity, but they noticed something that was not happening. Her electricity bill was not going up. As a matter of fact, it stayed the same each and every month. It was almost as though she had the electricity but was not using it. So they went up to her door. They knocked on the door and said, ma'am, are you using the electricity that's coming to your house? And she said, sure, I'm using the electricity. And so they scratched their head and they asked another question. Then how are you using the electricity? She says, every night I turn the lights on so that I can see how to get to the candle that is on the side, and I light the candle, I light the kerosene, and then I turn the electricity off, and I go back to using the candle and the kerosene. Oh, I want to pause and tell you that she was not using the power that was at her disposal. And I want to challenge you that you and I will not be like that woman, that we fail to use the power that is at our disposal. The Bible says, he who the Son sets free is free indeed. And I want to find out from you right now, do you want to be free? We're talking about freedom. We're talking about being loose from the shackles of addiction. We're talking about a God who can set us free. And I want you to join us this weekend for part 5 of our series, Addicted. We want to hear what the Lord has to say about setting us free. And so I'm praying God's richest blessings on you and yours. I look forward to seeing you next week. Midweek meditation just for you.